Well, the Hall of Fame ceremony is, obviously the day before WrestleMania. And I think we did a previous video on. Hold on a second. There we go. A previous video on Mil Mascaras, who is inducted in the who will be inducted in the Hall of Fame, which was on WWE.com when they did that when they were in a couple shows in Mexico, and they announced it for the Mexican people. And Mil Mascaras is one of a kind, well deserving of the Hall of Fame. Like I said before, he's a multi-time world champion, movie star, many, many more. Even debuted at the Royal Rumble, which ironically is coming up very soon. But there's two inductees that was on this Monday night. I completely almost forgot about it because I was trying to think about some groups. The first inductee will be Edge. And, of course, Edge was retired because of the spinal injuries at WrestleMania. And, he's deserving of it, but I would have probably waited a year or two because what they were going to do is one of the WrestleManias was going to be in Toronto. But since that plan has changed now, then they're going to do it this year. They might do the same for Trish Stratus and all those other people. You never know. Because apparently WrestleMania next year's will be in Dallas or something. I don't remember exactly where it will be. But if it's not going to be in Toronto, they might as well induct them now. Even though it's a little too soon, in my opinion. But you know what? They did it with Flair, they did it with Shawn Michaels, they did it with a lot of people. And they will eventually do it with Undertaker if WrestleMania will be his last match. I'm not sure on that. They want to keep the streak maybe 20-0, and so no one will ever break it unless they stay with the company like forever, like he did. So, I like the idea, and probably Christian or Trish will induct him, or Jericho would. I don't know, but we'll see. And finally, everyone's been talking about this. The Four Horsemen. For people that are not familiar with the Four Horsemen, one of the greatest factions of all time. Because you have your NWO, you have your Evolution, you have your Generation X. Before all of that, you had the Four Horsemen. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and depending on the fourth guy would be Ole Anderson, Barry Windham, several other people over the years that were in the Horsemen, like Benoit, Mongo, Malenko, and I'm sure there's many others. But the original four that will be inducted probably will be Flair, Anderson, Blanchard, and Windham. Along with their manager, the esteemed manager of the Four Horsemen, J.J. Dillon, who was, ironically, a head figure for WCW back in the day. For those who remember that. This is from the NWA days in the 80s. And I remember watching some of this stuff because I'm not that old, but I look back at the history. The Four Horsemen was one of the greatest groups of all time. And people have been saying, would Flair be inducted, or would Flair induct the Horsemen? Apparently, due to my sources, Flair will indeed be inducted into the Hall for a second time. So he'll get 2 rings, which kind of makes no sense, but in a way it kind of does, because if they did DX, Shawn Michaels would get a second ring, and Triple H would get a ring, and if Triple H was inducted separately, he'd get a second ring, so you know what I mean. And honestly, I think Luger was in the Horsemen as well. I'm trying to think of who's in the Horsemen, but this group was legendary, and if you don't remember the Horsemen, or if you are fans of the Horsemen and you know this is deserving, then I thank you. But it is kind of weird for Flair to get a second ring, especially since he's in TNA right now. And I don't know if Flair will go back and get a Legends deal again, because he had a Legends deal before. But at this point, you never know in this business. You never know, and I'm happy for him. But currently he's managing Gunner, and if you're not a fan of TNA, don't worry about it. He was Phil Shatter, the Universal Soldier, in the NWA Anarchy and NWA Wildside, I think. Yeah. And they brought him in with Michael Judas, a.k.a. Murphy, who was also in Wildside and Anarchy. the individual promotions, and what's gonna. I don't know what's gonna happen. Will Flair? I mean, they have a few months, but will Flair dump Gunner and go to the WWE just to promote the inducting of the Horseman? Or I'm kind of sad that Ole's not gonna be inducted though. I mean, would they induct all the Horsemen that were in the Horsemen, or they're just gonna induct the 4? I think they're just gonna induct the 4 at this time, but you never know at this point, because hell, they even did a spoof in TNA of Fortune. You see the difference, right? You see the difference. There you go. Yeah. But, so far you have Mascaras, you have Edge, and you have the 4 Horsemen. That's a class in itself right there. Different eras, baby. Different eras for sure. But, amazing talent nonetheless. And kind of makes you wonder who will be inducted next. Would it be an Owen Hart? Would it be a Yokozuna? Would it be somewhere around those lines? Would it be even older, like a Lou Fez or a Bruno Sammartino, or someone who is long deserving of this induction, who really deserves it? To be honest, like a Fez and a Sammartino would deserve it for sure, but due to their current state, I know we know Fez is long and gone. But Sammartino's still alive. And of course, question Randy Savage and The Undertaker. Savage, for sure, will be a burst ballot, but due to the past of the relationship with WWE and Savage, you never know in this business, like I said before. But Sammartino still has an ongoing thing with WWE. If you remember it back in the day, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, I'll go into it a little bit later at a later time. But you never know. So far, hell of a class, and I think this will be a segment we'll do weekly when they do, because last week they did 2 inductees. I don't know if they're going to keep that trend going, if they're just going to do 1 a week or 2 a week or 3 a week or whatever. The 4 Horsemen is pretty much like five inductees if you're just counting them separately, but as a group it's 2. I'm getting you confused, aren't I? That's what I do. But for now, it's a good class. For now, it's great. And it makes me wonder what will be next.